Welcome to the studio here at Itron Utility Week. I'm here with Marina Donovan, VP of Marketing for Itron, and we're talking resourcefulness, the Utility Resourcefulness Report.
Yes, thanks, Jen.
Yeah, thanks for coming out to talk to us. So let's talk about the report. So what was it all about? What was the reason for it?
Yeah, well, we do research every year about different industry issues that our customers care about. And this year we decided to focus on natural and man-made disasters because that's really relevant. We're hearing a lot of it in the news.
Yeah.
And so this year we focused on three different things. We looked at, what the perceptions that utilities and consumers had in the US. I mean, are there more disasters? And then we looked at what their specific concerns were. And then we looked at, do consumers think utilities are prepared? And do utilities think consumers? I mean, just kind of double checking that.
Yeah.
And then finally, we looked at what are the different technologies that utilities can use to prepare, respond, and recover from disasters.
Right, right. So what were some of the key findings? There was a little bit of a disconnect, right?
There were a couple of disconnects, but I will say initially, both utilities and consumers agree that they're more worried about disasters more today than even 5 years ago. Like 9 out of 10 consumers, I think were more concerned.
Right.
And then with the other statistics that are out there, like from the United Nations, that are saying, look, disasters have more than quadrupled since 1970.
Yeah,
right?
wow.
So I think everybody is in a high state of alert. And so I think what the report brought out was a sense of urgency. We need to address those. But to the first part of your question, the disconnect, I think the disconnect we saw was in the question about preparedness.
Okay.
The majority of utilities said, I think it was over 80%, said we have done education preparedness programs, we are good. And then when we asked consumers, well, have utilities educated you? They said only 42% recall receiving any material.
Oh, interesting.
So there was a big gap there, and I think the takeaway is, I'm in marketing, so I get it. You have to have ongoing programs. I mean, you're not one and done, and it has to be through a variety of channels. Print media, television, social, community events. I mean, the whole gamut.
So utilities need to keep their customers aware that they are prepared for disasters.
Yes.
And help their own customers as well
Right.
be prepared.
Right. What do they need to do
Yeah.
on their end? And, absolutely.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, we saw this just this week or last week in California with the PG&E shutting off the power.
Yes.
And even they admitted that it didn't go so well. They needed to communicate a little bit better. So, I mean, let's talk a little bit more about how you think they can do that. I mean, you mentioned some things.
Like I said, ongoing education.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you have to look at all the demographics and figure out what's going to be the best approach for each demographic.
Yeah.
But I mean, you have to even like create events like a disaster preparedness week or something to kind of rally around people on that. But I think consumers do have more awareness of this issue, so they're probably going to be more apt to participate or listen in. And then, try all the different types of media, social media, a lot, because people still, Facebook is very active in Facebook, getting the apps, getting what they need locally to get a sense of, one, that the utility is prepared, and that if Mother Nature strikes, they can do, they'll understand what the utility process is. So hopefully that will help them be more patient, because consumers' expectations are very high.
Really high.
Right.
Yeah, it's an Amazon world.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, so what about some of Itron's technologies? What is Itron doing to help utilities be prepared?
Yeah, well we've been really fortunate that we work with a lot of utilities that have leaned forward, like PG&E and FPL in the early days with getting AMI networks. And when we asked utilities what technologies are using, AMI came up, and it's still not completely deployed, right? But more than 50% have that, and that's key. Just knowing where the power's out, right? And then they're using outage detection, remote disconnect, and we also have some new cool technologies that also are starting to register, things like a methane sensor.
Yeah.
And so we've partnered with New Cosmos and Con Edison to deploy a program in New York where you can detect, gas leaks, right, for example.
Yes.
And that's been really, really helpful. And then also pole tilt sensors came up on the list. I mean, obviously this is emerging and this is brand new and we still have it in pilots, but you can put the sensors on the poles and you can see if the poles are tilting, right?
Oh, interesting.
And that could be due to weather.
Yeah.
It could be due to a car accident. It could be due to a number of things, but that one thing it can trigger a series of events, right?
Yeah,
But I think that the other takeaway though in the survey that we did, which focused on natural and man-made, was cyber attacks for utilities came up by far the most important concern. And so we put some things in our report about how to deal with that, and I know the utilities are also hyper aware and vigilant, but next year we really want to do a deep dive into that.
So how can people read the report?
People can download the report by going to itron.com/resourceful, and they can get the full report, the full field guide, and the complete study. They don't have to fill out a form, and they can get all the information right there.
Excellent. Thanks for coming out to talk to me, Marina.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thanks for joining us in the studio, and be sure to subscribe to our channel for more industry updates.